Hey, look at that. Look at that. We're kind of live. I just got to
Hello.
bring the music down. Hey, what's happening? Sorry, I don't have any musical transitions on this thing. It's very persnickety that way.
That's all right.
What's happening? Hi, hello, good to see you. Welcome. Let me move the hi chat room. I'm going to move you guys out of the way so we can see Rob a little bit better.
Are
And
we live right now?
we are live right now. So
Okay, well, here we go.
yeah, right. That's exactly right. It's good to see you, my friend, and thank you
You
for your
too,
lovely
man.
words. And you've been sorely missed, and that's that.
As have you.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
lots going on. We haven't talked in a little bit about a bunch of stuff. So, not the least of which I think there are two parallel tracks. I'll just drop on you right away.
Okay,
Which
give
is,
it to me, man.
yes, on the one hand, artificial intelligence is moving inexorably towards AGI, artificial general intelligence, or ASI, artificial super intelligence, which is, of course, artificial Skynet intelligence, if you like the doom scrollers on that. And at the same time, that humanity is probably heading towards its apex of intelligent hardware, software, and a genuine sea change in our technological capabilities as human beings. Our current president's brain is turning to inverse tapioca in the exact opposite direction. And the people around him could not be dumber about a myriad of things. And it's,
I think they think they're really smart and they're like pulling one over on everybody getting rich. They're just grifting. They think they're grifting.
I'm sure they
Or they're
think
trying to grift.
Yeah. No,
They're like, how can we grift?
that's right. Hold on. I'm going to shift this road. There we go. That's much better. And then I think, let's see, I should.
Can you move me up a little? I feel kind of short.
I don't know that I can. I could just shrink myself a little bit. I think it's camera angle. Let's see.
You're fine. I'm going to lift my chair up because this
OBS virtual camera. That's
there we go. There we go. I use the actual chair.
Yes, I have. Good for you. I have less control over it from this side of things than I normally do. So I apologize. I just flew in on a red eye, left last night, midnight, and flew to Kentucky. And one of the things that was waiting for me, you talk about like the mix of modern and primitive in that many ways. You know, we have all these, my dad's buckskins and mine and my long rifle and all that kind of stuff. But also, a box I was looking for the last time I was here, and Carol found it, of 8mm film that my family had, and that including a movie that my cousin Jerome and I made at our grandparents' house, where it included my first special effects, which includes us playing with a BB gun and somebody like him shooting me and I'm falling back over the edge of the banister, and then this dummy that I made out of my same clothes stuffing a comforter into it falls over the actual side of the thing, and we had to cut in camera, and so you can see my hand push its foot as it doesn't fall all the way because it gets stuck, and we can't do it again, right? So that's in there somewhere, and I have to find it. Anyways, Carol found that box and put it on my. It was waiting for me in the room I stay in when I'm here. When I got back, and I'm gonna digitize all that stuff and do all kinds of crazy things with it. So I think you're right about these guys thinking they're really smart about stuff for the most part.
And even the people in charge, if you want to call them in charge, like Sam Altman and the gentleman at Google, they don't even seem to know where this is going.
No,
they just have to do it. Like Google kind of had to do Gemini, because OpenAI made a leap forward. So Google had to catch up. But Google's been trying to make an AI chatbot for many years, like years before OpenAI ever came out. And it came out and it got punked, and it worked horribly. I think that was like the first turning it into a Nazi story that there was. Was people screwing around with Google.
The only difference with them and Brock was that he actually thought that's a good idea.
Right, exactly. And then Elon Musk got this idea. Oh, I just saw that happen. I should make that happen too.
I'm sorry.
Why do they want to turn it off?
Yeah, we can Nazify that shit out of this. This is great. That doesn't sound like a mistake. That sounds like a business model.
Yeah. And the crazy part about just how when these things come up and it just scrambles everybody's brain on all sides because they're like, wait, we don't want regulation, from the party of states' rights. And they're making laws, or they
Right.
make fake laws about states not getting to regulate. And then the states are like, no, we want to regulate. And and it's just the Wild West right now, because it's hard to even know how to
Yeah.
regulate, because you don't know what it really is and what it really is doing yet. I mean, we can see what's happening, and we talk about that a lot. But in fact, the like what that is going to productize out to is, we're pretty far away from figuring that out.
Right. Well, okay. So there have been a bunch of leaps forward since we last spoke, and a lot of rubber hitting the road as far as software and stuff. And by the way, hi chat room. If you guys have any questions, I should be able to pop them in here, and you should be able to too. Now I gave you unprecedented power over the chat.
I have. All right.
So
well, I always see the YouTube chat, but then I saw this little button in Restream here, and I can hit chat there. So you're saying I can do stuff in it?
I think so. Like Moon Girl says, "Hi, Rob and Hal," or something. Where this? Okay, hold on. This is the replace.
Can I actually type in it? I don't even know how to do that.
I think you can add a caption. I guess. But that's there should be stuff available over to you, and you should be able to like show things on stream. Like click on there's the chat with us.
Oh,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, cool.
I think you can do those things if you're feeling mad with power.
I feel like today's the wrong day to just be touching buttons.
I never have that.
Or maybe it's the perfect day to be touching buttons.
Exactly right. Like let me tell you, ladies, never shy away from button touching. Let me tell you. Let's see. I like the where is it? News of the World style robot on the thumbnail. Thank you very much. I made that one using AI a while back, and that's my sort of go-to in this. So I've been making use of kind of it's almost like the Rob Glenn. For those that don't know, let's start the show like we're professionals and we haven't just been hanging out talking like this for months, and someone just threw the switch and put us on live. This is my dear friend Rob Glenn from Root Design in Chicago. One of my favorite people, and certainly my favorite city. And he and I used to have these conversations about AI on a personal level, and I was like, we have to have these in front of people, because I think there's a bunch of people on our side of the aisle, especially politically, that are a little afraid of it or hostile to it or whatever. And that doesn't matter. It's happening. It's coming. Yeah. It is going to be a factor in everything. It's more about less about the kind of overt, silly parts of what's in the news, AI slop video and stuff like that, and how it's going to be like the internet in many ways, the substructure of so much of life in many ways. And I've got a couple of stories about that I'll run by you, Rob, that have to do with that. But our goal is, being both bullish and realistic about it, that it is not going to be this Skynet takeover fear-mongering thing, and it is not going to do everybody's job, and it's not going to take over the world anytime soon. But it is going to, I would say 5x or 10x the productivity of a lot of people in a lot of different industries much faster than they thought was possible a couple of years ago when these things started coming out as chatbots. There is a shift that we'll get to. We're going to go into the digital, and then we're going to go into the physical, right? We'll talk about the digital aspect of this. I'm trying to organize the show because it's a lot when we take it, and you know what I mean?
You mean today's show or
all the shows?
Every show.
So let's do it. Digital.
You've got a whole thing. Lower third.
Digital. Let's get into digital. Everybody, your body talk. Okay, so I made a little graphic thing for Let's Get
That's
Digital.
awesome.
Because I was like, we got to separate.
Busy.
Well, I've had a lot of don't want to think about what's going on energy.
I hear you.
I don't have one for the robot
if you're
yet,
awake, you might as well be punching on the computer, right?
Exactly. So I didn't make one for the robots one, not because I didn't try, but because I didn't find one I liked enough. I was getting very peculiar about it. So anyways, raise your seat up, or wait, hold on.
I'm
How about
I
this?
feel like the camera's moving because
It very well may.
like,
I don't know. I'm messing around.
what's going on.
Apparently there's no AI framing on this right now.
I can do this in my OBS, but I'm trying to be professional.
I appreciate it. Well, you can use the virtual, you should set up, and this is to all my dear streaming friends out there, anybody who does anything like this, the Tara Devlins and Dublins and, all those folks, here's what you do. You create a scene in OBS that is your Zoom screen or your meeting screen. And it's not a part of your regular show or what you regularly use, but it's just a really good setup of you and what you need that would be your perfect kind of setup. And if you need a graphic that can come up, you can set it so it's about right here and then fly it in. That's essentially
and I could do that right now. I don't want to break anything.
I appreciate that right now. We're already, I'm in Kentucky on the internet.
Right.
We're on a wing and a prayer. Right. So, okay.
Right, let's get digital, man.
Let's get digital. Digital. I so want to record like a theme song where it's just me singing that to the tune of Let's Get Physical on a really crappy ukulele or something. Okay. So I made notes even. So where is it? Right. Yeah, let me go back to this first one. The digital one. Here we go. Okay. So one of the things we talked about was theft of intellectual property and that kind of stuff. Meta, Google, and these others have signed deals with news agencies so that they are no longer stealing from these agencies and feeding their bots, so that you're getting these summaries that are using stories, but they're not. It's basically a way to circumvent the firewall, or the paywall rather, that keeps a lot of news organizations afloat. And so Meta was particularly egregious about this. Google does it accidentally because there's this mix between SEO and AI that popped in. That's search engine optimization for the who's at home, that became initially was something that you would do on your own, and you would kind of like put keywords in so that people were looking for your stuff might find it even if that actual word wasn't in it. You put it in the structure of the web page or whatever, and those kind of things. And then it became an industry. Then it became like just a way of BSing Google by, you could buy search engine optimization, and they would just flood your page with your bunch of linked phrases buried in. My train is here. So when AI started doing that, it really was screwing all the big news organizations, because it was summarizing their news stories. And yes, there's a link to go to it, but as many people have used, I don't know if you use like the Google summary, that like anytime you Google something now, there's an AI summary of it already there. And it's basically the top 8 stories of it, the key elements of it. And so these news organizations were basically just having their work stolen. Google signed a deal with a bunch of these to clear that. And Meta, Facebook specifically, was, in people's feeds doing the exact same thing. And in your Meta glasses that you can wear, you can get a summary of something. They were basically just ripping off these stories, and the AI would just comb through it, give you a summary, and the newspaper makes nothing, even though they're doing all the work and referencing it. It's not even like teaching a style like you would use, like write me a story in the style of New York Times in the 1950s.
So before, to that point, before chatbots, for GPT, and Gemini and all that, Google was already doing that. So it started with AdWords.
Yes.
AdWords used to be in a right-hand column. So if you type something in and somebody paid to put their ad in front of you or get a result on Google, it would be in the column next to the results that Google was giving you. Well, then so that was step 1. Step 2 was they started putting the ad as the first couple of results. So if you paid a little extra, whatever, you would be the first and second result, but you paid for it, and they would label it ad. Mm-hmm. And then the next step, they started to summarize. So they would spider your site, and they would maybe, like if you were a weather organization and your data was constantly new, they would they would summarize that pre-chatbot, and you would get the weather, but it would be from them summarizing the weather site. So the first level of that was like, weather.com or whatever, getting really pissed off because they were like, hey, you're supposed to be Google, which puts a weather.com link. They click on that, they come to our site. So weather.com stopped getting the clicks because Google is just summarizing, right? Now what you see is, and there's a couple steps in between, but now what you see is essentially Gemini giving you the answer that you're looking for, because web searches, people started to basically they just started asking Google questions. They stopped typing in keywords, and they just started saying, like, I have a black mole on my back. What does it mean? Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, here's 5med.com, the WMD.com or whatever it is. WMD. What did I say that for? MD.com. Sorry.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's WMD.com, by the way, is the new CDC website that RFK Jr. has put in. So, yeah.
I meant WebMD.com. I don't know why that came out.
No, if anybody could turn MD.com into WMD.com, it's the great Gonzo.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, now there are all this. I'll say two things to what you were talking about. So it used to be that you'd see, if you were kind of in business or had a website or you were getting served ads, it would be a bunch of SEO, search engine optimization. If you do these 10 things, we'll help you pay us to whatever to get to the first result on Google.
Right.
Well, that industry kind of doesn't work anymore, or it's shifting dramatically because Google is using its spidered results, or it goes out and basically like reads everybody's website, sort of, kind of, and it then summarizes it. So now people are trying to figure out how to game the summary. So how do you get however Google's going out and pulling your information, how do you game that? And SEO was kind of like gaming Google. It was backwards engineering of Google, right?
Right.
So the funny thing about that is, I think, is that if you just naturally have a good thing and you're naturally being talked about, you're going to end up in the summary. In fact, I run a company. I sell a product, make and sell a product. If you search for that, it gives a pretty decent summary of what we try to say it is. And then it's a mixture of what we try to say it is and what a whole bunch of other people talk about it as being on different forums and stuff like that. So as a owner of a company trying to make a product, like, we just need to work really hard at making sure we talk to our customers and have good customer service, and but if you're trying to game it, it's way harder or way more interesting, because you've got to get that information out on the internet for it to find.
And now
that's where all this like bot stuff happens.
And then you get
MAGA being from other countries and stuff like that.
That's what I wanted to get to. So but
before you jump into that, let me say one more thing. There's one other thing that I see is happening in this. I have an Android phone. Everybody probably has iPhones, but my Google is the news feed. It's sort of the natural installed thing. It's switched to not just being like a box with an article in it, but it's the box with the article, and above that is their summary of that article. And it's really interesting because, being informed like I am, there's been probably at least 10% of those summaries that are completely wrong. Like the exact opposite, let's say, of what the article says, which is also pretty interesting because, as you've talked about, like, what's the fifth paragraph? What's the third paragraph? A lot of articles are written in that sense where it's like clickbaiting you in with some sensational thing. And then if you read the fifth paragraph or below it, they're like, oh, and by the way, it's something completely different.
That's partly because
all of those things are kind of happening. And that's both a a feature and a bug of this AI stuff that's
Right.
happening.
Well, and also, part of the search engine optimization aspect, especially, was this like it would favor, almost like Reddit does with like ranking stories up.
Right.
There was this kind of that wasn't an original idea to Reddit. This was something that Google did for a long time. That a lot of people, if you paid attention to a particular story or someone's take on a story, that would be one of the ones that would get up there because this is a
Yeah.
popular source for this story. Well, in the case of news, if somebody is abjectly BSing you, like but selling the most sort of dramatic version of a story, like overblowing the details, making it very shocking and emotional, more people would key into that, and then therefore it would key up and go up higher, to the point where the algorithm after a while was sort of trained to look for stories that were written as dramatically as possible. So even before people clicked on it and decided they liked it because it was the exciting car chase version of whatever the story was, Google would always already look at it like, oh, people will like this because it's written in this style, this kind of like old, Western leaflet journalism that you'd see around Billy the Kid back in the day. Like they would just, big, flowery and scary stories about people. And it would favor those things, even if they weren't popular, even if people were just looking for the details. And so it was over time getting, SEO was so perverted by this thing that now it basically got its legs swept by Gemini, by the new AI version of this. So I want to keep us. We have a lot of stories, and I want to make sure we get through some of them or whatever. I would like to say that Mark Kelly, who's a man after my own heart, I'm thinking Newsom Kelly might be the ticket. But he's a dear, he's a good human being. Led the seditious six who said, you shouldn't follow an order, if you know it to be unlawful, which is just true. So the idea that they're being seditious by repeating something that is the law is just absurd, but whatever. He has this AI for America roadmap that he is putting forward, which I think points to either vice president, president, or cabinet. He's definitely moving in that direction. And by the way, as an AI czar or as a technology czar in the next administration, an astronaut's a great choice, but because of both their logic and realism and their, comfort with new technology and having to adapt in very high pressure situations. So
they communicate like engineers and scientists do.
Right. So they're doing
the world they live
couple of things that are part of this. One is an AI Horizon fund, which will pay to retrain workers and people who are like they can see their job eclipsing, and they'll be either able to use AI and become like co-pilot with it, so they won't lose their job, or retrain for another job that won't be replaced and that kind of stuff. But that's part of it as well. Large scale worker upskilling, meaning just basically a free college courses level of learning for people to figure out these technologies. I think you and I both know that one of the easiest things about it is that if even the free version of these things is so good that if you ask them to teach you how to use them, they will. So there's a lot of
absolutely.
That's really where that's going to go. It's not even going to cost the taxpayer, but it's important to at least direct people in that, and also industry specific, which I really want to get to. There's this movement away from foundation models, which are the giant ones, to specific ones. And you and I called this probably last year, specifically, where I was saying they're going to have LAI and they're going to have legal firms are going to have law AI, but it's not going to do anything else. It's not going to make reservations at hotels for you or any of that other stuff. So it can be hyper specific. And if it does hallucinate, it hallucinates within the realm of reality and becomes a standard mistake, as opposed to some sort of fanciful BS that it just pulls off the internet. And the other one was guardrails on data energy usage as AI grows. Now, I think that's a talking point right now, but we'll get into the physical part of this. We'll get into the shift from electronics to photonics and where that is headed. And it looks like, from an engineering standpoint, this might be the way to,
in terms of power, like it doesn't matter what the final solution is.
Yeah.
It's simply that you've got to do more with less.
Yes.
And the people freaking out about it need to understand that if they run out of power, then they run out of power. Like it's kind of that simple. and
Right.
and so they can't unless they figure out how to do more with less power, or how to create more power on their own. And we need to be careful not to just give them a free,
well, I would suggest
a blank check to build it.
Me and my dumb ideas.
It just won't grow.
Right. And me and my dumb ideas, but that are actually brilliant. Call it the AI bill, like a GI bill. And the idea is that we are looking at such a big technological shift that we have a responsibility to the workforce and, both white and blue collar to help them get ready for this transition so that we're not, knocked on our ass by it. And now every country in the world is going to be faced with some sort of a similar shift like this. The question is, and because we're in the United States, that's where our focus has to be. Can we prepare our workers for it, and in such a way that other countries can learn from it as the model, right?
Sure.
You want to do it as best you can so that the rest of the countries that will be dealing with the same kind of shift will go, okay, I see what they did. They, this worked and this didn't. In many ways, the way they do it with any of our technology. So I would press for the AI bill, and the AI bill is like an education bill, that's like the GI bill that sends everybody back to school to learn these things.
And also, I would tie into that. And I think he did in his original. He had some sort of paper that came out a couple months ago.
Yeah, we talked about it a few months ago. Yeah,
this. Didn't he also talk about like what we've talked about, the sort of identify whether something came from AI or came from a bot?
Yes, there's a part of it that is
such a simple thing that can solve everything, and it's proven, it's proven by literally Twitter in the last week or so,
right? Like
showing people where it came from, and then all of a sudden it completely changes the landscape of what Twitter is instantly. Right. when you simply know where it came from. This doesn't have to be that complicated.
No, it's especially simple when you think of who you're interacting with. I don't think most of us have a problem with it. I'm not going to fall in love with the customer service bot while I'm talking to it online, and I don't care that a human being isn't bothered until such time as I need them. If I could handle it digitally and it was smooth and it didn't get hung up on what I was saying, and like the early versions of customer service bot systems, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't feel like I need a human being to listen to my bullshit about my, my plane ticket and my reservation change and all that kind of stuff. If I could do it fluidly, digitally, I'd rather do that than bother a person, right? It's just, some people
also,
but at least you should know that it's fake. Right.
Yeah. In that moment, when you get to, like, let's say you're dealing with a cable bill or something, I don't know, a phone bill, and you go to their website, and they usually use a chat bot or get a call back or call us. So you make a choice in that moment, whether you want to take what the chat bot might not give you. It might be kind of like clunky and might not be smooth, but I don't really want to wait on hold right now. And so when you make that calculation, you accept what you kind of feel is what the experience is going to be.
Right.
And then you work through it. And so at the end of that experience, if that chat bot got you there smoothly, then you're going to be like surprised, and you're going to say, wow, that worked really well. That was easy. If it doesn't, you're going to be like, well, I knew that was shit anyway. I probably should have called.
Right.
And then you call, and then you wait on hold, and you're like, yeah, of course I'm going to wait on hold, because I wait on hold. You already know you're going to wait on hold, right?
Right.
The point I'm trying to make is, like, if in all these situations, if you just give a person a choice at the beginning that's simple, usually they work it out. And so in this case of, like, tell people something's AI, if it's AI, like, I see a lot of Instagram reels with Sora, and it'll have a Sora thing.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, it's Sora. Like, there you go. Boom. Like, if that was funny, it was funny. If it wasn't, it wasn't. But I'm not being fooled by it. Right. It's just part of the thing that's coming up, right? Yes. Or if it's this is coming from another country, then you can make a choice at that moment. Am I going to accept whatever this thing that they're saying to me is?
Right.
Because you have context, right?
Right.
It can be that simple, and we can apply these sort of simple solutions across the board for a lot of this stuff that seems really complicated.
Yeah. And one of the, like, and this is where the complicated part gets. And I'll do two more things, then we'll start talking about well, let's talk about Twitter first. So the thing that broke this week, or in the last week or change, was that Twitter put this feature in that tells you how long, not just how long an account's been there, but where it was started. Look, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Can I do it? It's not gonna
probably. I don't know which one.
It didn't work.
Doesn't work that way. I don't know. It liked one of them. I don't know. Anyways, I
can be mean to you.
Yeah, I know. Not only tells you who, when they started the account or whatever, which it used to say all the time, and where it's located, allegedly, wherever you write, wherever you're located. You don't have to tell the truth about it. It would just let you put in your location. It now says when it was started and where it was started from, where the account is actually, was began. And that was the big element that opened up this whole chain that, oh my God, the right-wing groups on there especially, and some of the hyper left ones, are foreign accounts, clearly sock puppets for governments. Like, clearly these are all just blatantly made up, right? And they're there just to stoke anger. So you'd have a huge account that's pro-Hillary and a huge account that's pro-Trump in 2016, and they would be fighting each other, and then they would have tons of bots, and this goes to that sort of SEO conversation we were having before, have tons of bots backing them up so that people in those sides might think, oh my God, there's a huge number of people, fighting against me on this, or there's a huge number of people that support them, oh God, and when in reality, a lot of it was just horseshit. It was just like,
and we knew that, like, everybody knew it. They were just ignoring it.
Yes.
Like, part of the conversation during the time that Musk was buying Twitter was them in the news, WWF style, like, arguing over how many bots Twitter had. Like, he made it part of his negotiation to try to get the price down.
Yeah. Well,
saying that it was all bots. And then he gets it and he's like, I'll make more bots. This is perfect.
Right. Yeah. And so apparently it was on. Everybody found out that a lot of these right-wing accounts and these fake liberal accounts that they would make fun of were also, all obviously fake. And largely, that's something we're going to have to watch out for. Not just sock puppet accounts created by governments that have human beings behind them messing around with them, but we're going to see a ton, I have no doubt. We're going to see a ton of AI bots now driving these things as well, just flooding social media. So, which is why someone in the California legislature needs to bring my bill to the floor. So if anybody's got a connection there, I need to do it. Also, anywhere, any other state, I'm sure it will work there too. But just the labeling of what's digital and what's not, that is not a violation of anybody's free speech. There's nothing wrong with knowing that United Airlines has a chat bot. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody, and I think largely people want to feel like they are at least, again, like you said, aware that they're talking to an AI or a bot. It's fine as long as you know you're doing that. But you're not going to waste your time, literally, your lifetime, your mortal lifetime on this planet, arguing with a bot that doesn't care and isn't really giving an opinion. I don't argue bullshit with a fellow human being, up and down, but why would I? It's like yelling in a phone booth, into an empty phone. Like, what's the point? And in a lot of ways, that is the point for a lot of these. They want you distracted,
it's to
talking.
Suck away your time.
Yeah, it's to pull you into a cul-de-sac in the internet, so that you're yelling at bots, talking to no one, convincing no one, expounding an idea to no one, because it's not going to learn. You can't teach this bot to behave. It's never going to do it because it's programmed to do a specific thing. And that's just going to grow until there is a very specific pushback on it.
Yeah. I've been sort of seeing, I feel like because there's been this change of how those things are given their, or how they come up with what they're going to say. Let's put it
Mm-hmm.
that way. You can actually, it's almost like it's its own language. Like AI has an accent in
Right.
writing in a way. And it's interesting that you can kind of tell that it's AI a lot of times. And I'm not sure what the components are to like define what that is, but
Mm-hmm.
you start to see it like when things contradict each other, or they seem like they sound like something else, you know,
Right.
like uh um a lot of times I'm seeing like in the context of a question answer, there'll be an answer that the answer is right for a different question.
Right.
And it's like it's
Yeah.
interesting as if you go back, and I can try to talk about examples of this, but it'd get into the weeds. I don't need to. Like if you go back and you look at your question, you're like, oh, I asked that question in a really shitty way. Let me
Right.
ask it a little more clearly. And
Yes.
so sometimes I'm finding that the more I interact, the more I realize like sometimes how good or badly I'm communicating. And then once you communicate better, it starts to work a little better. So it's almost like having a sounding board in a way
Right.
to try to correct some of those things.
Well, and yeah, I don't mind using a bot even to test out. Like one of the early things they were going, if you have a job interview, you could talk to the AI chatbot
Right.
and rehearse with Albert Brooks in Defending Your Life with his when he's like trying to get his wife to do the help me. It helps me work this. I can't accept 55,000, no less, whatever. And then he goes into the office. He goes, I'm prepared to offer you $40,000. And he's like, done. Damn it. That it can give you the ability to just kind of like test yourself, run, different scenarios and that kind of stuff. And that's great. Again, I don't mind doing that if I know. And I think that's going to be a crucial part of our society is I think a lot of people are going to be very comfortable having conversations with bots because they will feel safe talking to something they know isn't a human, that they can go, please forget everything I just told you. And it will like that. You know what I mean? As opposed to a person who couldn't if they wanted to. So let's look at this from the point of view of like the technology aspects of this. Hold on, let me fix one thing, and then we'll go on to the physical in a second. But there will be, where is this thing? Hold on. I got to change the name of this thing.
People are saying something's getting choppy, but I think it's just the feed from where hell is. Everything's smooth on our end.
Yeah, we can see okay, and it records to the things, so it should be all right. And I'm glad Facebook is back up. I saw you guys on there. That's what I was doing. I was like throwing the switches to make sure that
Pat Ludwig, 1971. Rob, you can tell, of course, if you're capable of critical thinking. So much for that when it comes to the GP, general public. People are just really stupid, man. I mean, it's just a different way to deliver different messages. Like people have been being conned and being advertised to and being like fooled. And I mean, it's just a different technology to deliver the same damn thing, which is, again, it's the human condition. Like, so to me, like AI has the ability, it gives you more ability to like suss it out.
Yeah.
You're not going to change whether somebody, like I said, I would see an article and I would read the summary and it just, something was wrong. And then and the funny thing is it made me click on it because I was like, that can't be right.
Right.
Click on it. And then I read it and I'm like, oh yeah, I was right. It's almost like a game, right?
Yes.
And so the point I'm trying to make is like, that thing that I just described is no different than clickbait. A clickbait headline where the articles have been doing that for years. It says one thing in the headline and you read it and it's wrong. Right. So all I'm doing is I'm trying to talk about the fact that I think as we sort of automate these human conversations, that we're just automating what's already happening. It's not new. Like none of this is new. It's just coming at you in a different way.
Yes. And so many people have like kind of a generalized aversion to it. There has to be, we have to be able to go through these things and just eliminate those fears because they are basic and real, that people know they want to be talking to a real human being. And there are plenty of situations where the law around it should be very cut and dry. It should be very simple. And hold on one second. I add this here. I'm making another little graphic-y thing while we do this thing, because I'm now.
Oh, that might be why I'm choppy, because you're.
No, it's not.
You're doing
nothing to do with it. Stop it.
I'm blaming you. It's not my fault.
I know it's not. Son of a dog doodle. All right. So.
All right. Are we going to go physical soon, or?
Yes, we are. Well, that's what I was working on.
Physical?
So, yes. Yeah. So. All right, fine. How about this?
Oh, okay.
Rise of the machine.
Is this the robot section?
Yes, this is robots and tech. Okay, so there's a couple of things. The biggest one, because we weren't quite done with the digital. Real quick, hold on. Let me go back here.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't mean to move you along.
Show this.
You weren't ready.
Yeah, no. So the biggest part that we've heard a lot about, and what was launched and is really taken off in a realm that I have a hard time figuring out how to use for myself.
Okay.
Because I'm so used to doing stuff on my own, that the idea of an agentic AI, right? And this is the simplest one being is like, it'll buy plane tickets for you and whatever, and sets on this thing. There's a little bit of one in ChatGPT that I use, in that I will tell it to continue to work on something.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to it later. And it does. It will continue looking for stuff. It'll, refine things based on instructions. Now, I don't know how much of that difference it does in an instant and then pops back up. But it might, if I've added other notes elsewhere, or I'm talking about it in other conversations, it might incorporate those things into, something that I'm saying, like work on, my schedule for the rest of the year or something like that. If we're like, look at the calendar, because I'll put in like my kid's school calendar and, my work calendar that I know of, and then those kind of things, and go, okay, find me the best 3-day weekends, that give me enough room, that aren't going to, that lead into other holidays or whatever, that stuff that I could do, but it would take me a good, like, half hour, 45 minutes to try and coordinate and call people and check people on the other line. It would go, here's your ballpark. Then that narrows it down, again, a subset, so that I'm only working with a subset, and it saves me time and energy and all those kind of things. And some details might come in new that would affect those things. So that is probably the closest thing to an agentic AI thing that I use, in that this continuing work, or these projects. Do you currently use any of the agentic AI tools that are out there? Or have you explored any of it? Because I'm just on the edge of like diving into it. But obviously the last month of my life was a monkey wrench. And so I didn't.
So not in the sense that you're talking about. Do you mind give me 1 second? I'm going to shut this blind.
I don't know. I like the kind of dramatic lighting.
The sun's like right in my
eye.
Yeah. So let me just back up and say, the thing that you just described, and I think a lot of people understand this, but maybe not everybody does.
Yeah.
When you chat with AI, it's confined to only that moment. Like there's not so let's say you write out a paragraph and you hit go. It's that paragraph is what it sees, and it doesn't see anything else, and it answers only based on that paragraph.
Right.
And then over time, like in my case, the way I would answer your agentic thing is that I purposely only use one AI chatbot, because it remembers me, and I want it to remember everything I've talked about, so that and this is happening, like, for me, it's happening as time moves on, like very very well or very distinctly, and that is that when I ask a new thing or I'm talking about a specific question or subject, it will bring in all the other stuff it knows
Yes.
because I've allowed it. I've only been in that thing, so pieces of all those conversations now, instead of me just writing the paragraph, it's actually sending the paragraph plus this other information along with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's got the memory in a brain and the question goes in. It literally sends all the context with it. You just don't see that.
Right.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? The second thing I'd like to say is that what's currently happening inside of like in ChatGPT like the 4050 or whatever, when it answers the question or when it's something that's complicated, you'll see it communicate back to you without answering. Like,
Right.
let's say you ask it a multi-step question. It'll be like, I considered step one. Step one is this. Now I'm considering step two in relation to step one. So what it's doing when it's conversing back to you before it gets the answer is it's actually building a bigger prompt.
Right.
So that the prompt that it eventually gives itself is built like you would build a more complicated prompt. So it's still only in that moment.
Yeah.
So
Well,
when you say agentic in time, like the only way to establish what you're saying in terms of like my workflow and maybe yours as well, is to constantly be giving sort of like small feedback to the answer it gave you. So in order to, so the way to build that might be to have a single chat going about your schedule. And then if something comes up, you're like, oh, I have this new initiative. How would you now reschedule my schedule for the next 3 months out? I have this, I want to add this, I want to add that, but don't forget this. So and this is how you converse. This is how you would converse with
an assistant.
Someone with an assistant
who's learning how to do your thing. Yeah.
That's actually how I started thinking about it finally, I was like, this chat window, like I used to I'm not like someone who anthropomorphizes anything.
Right.
Obviously by how I've talked in the past, but I actually started thinking about it as like, if I just keep talking to this thing every day, it's going to build this thing. And I'm basically need to treat this like an employee or an assistant.
Yes.
And one of the things that I think is really interesting is, sorry, there's a
That's okay. I'm also collecting some chat things that I'm pinning that we'll talk about in a minute.
So I'd like to just say one thing, and that is one thing that's very normal for people in general when they're in a job is it's really hard to delegate. People, like, it's a skill to delegate.
Yes. Right.
And so instead of thinking about the chat bot as being good or bad at something, think about how well you're speaking to it, just like you would if you had an assistant. If you hired an assistant, that assistant might do a terrible job because you're really bad at having an assistant.
That's right.
The same thing is true of you speaking to ChatGPT in this case, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to frame it like that.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the utility. At one point, I was looking into a couple years ago into getting one of those virtual assistants because I didn't need somebody in the house that, picked up after me. But as far as like maintaining my schedule with my agent and manager and PR stuff that I do and shows and that kind of stuff, like somebody in charge of the calendar to literally just take the information and do something with it. I was like, that's a great idea. But the idea of hiring someone in Thailand or India that I would talk to a couple of times a week or whatever seemed very odd. And I tried it. I signed up for these things or whatever. I never could get it off the ground because I was like, by the time I explain it, I could just do it myself, which is a big problem.
And that's the equation that goes on in your head. You're like, I'm going to spend more time getting this assistant up to speed. I might as well just do it myself.
Right.
And that happens across the board in productivity things all the time.
Right. Well, in this particular instance, so we can with these kind of things, all the stuff that I've talked to it about before we've gotten to the part where it's being an assistant, it has all that information in there. It knows that I have
get it too.
Yeah, right. Because I've turned on memory in ChatGPT. It's my primary one or whatever. But I use Perplexity as a stranger, and I use Gemini as sort of a mid zone between the two, more for graphics and those kind of things because it's a little better at that. Right now, that's my kind of workflow and messing around with them. And I have a very physical thing I want to show you in a minute. I'll have to go get it in the other room real quick. But in our talk about physical elements of this, but one of the things that's really happening is the rise of photonic chips, and photonic chips comes from literally the fact that we use electrons to power everything, and there's a lot of heat involved in the expression of electrons. Photons, not so much. And if they can transfer, there's these photonic chips that are coming out that they are testing right now that are like 50 times faster than the GPUs that NVIDIA is using. That's why they bought up the company that was making these things. If they can figure out how to turn those into a generalized chip instead of, even if it's just for the big systems, the big data centers, it will cut the energy need there, basically the loss of energy that comes from it by 80%, right? It'll literally drive it down. And so the fears about us needing 3 times as much energy and trillions of dollars worth of energy infrastructure can be innovated away. And I think that's really where that's going to go. And oh, by the way, sorry, that was my mistake. I should have already switched over to our physical stuff. Okay, yeah. So there are, there's a bunch of things happening. The biggest one being is that my favorite current robot, Figure 3, won. Let me see if I get this right. Best invention of 2025.
Okay. And I wouldn't call Figure 3 an invention, though.
Well, I mean, I think what they invented was sometimes an invention is a whole new thing. Sometimes an invention is the combination of parts that create a new whole. And so their combination, I think what they really mean is Helix, the AI brain that they designed to run all of them together, but the model that carries it out and how great it looks and stuff. And I think it's more like a car and driver kind of a thing, that rather than a Nobel Prize for invention, but pretty damn close. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that their innovation has a lot to do with their packaging.
Yes.
Their like the way that they're productizing the robot.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's their innovation. And a lot of innovation in that sense is iterative. It's not lightning strike brand new, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so there's the biggest move forward that everybody talks about is, of course, the robot stuff, because it's a lot of fun. And but there are two non-humanoid robots, like one cleaning bot and one warehouse bot, that are coming online in 2026 that are going to shift how all warehouses are done and all buildings get cleaned. And we've
already these Figure 3 robots that you're talking about, or
these
separate?
Are just these are other ones, but they're going to show up way before the figures do, and before, like, in people's houses, in people's businesses, and the like. And Optimus is running around at doing nothing at the Tesla factories, just kind of for eye candy, effectively, to make him look smarter than he is. But there is something about like these robots deploying in the same way that the newer Roombas have LiDAR in them and can track your entire house and every object in it. And it's localized, saved there, so it's not uploaded to a cloud unless you want it to. And it will, it knows your floor layout and stuff and knows what your pets look like, so it won't run over them. You're going to see that. You're going to see Figure and all these other companies go, hey, do you have a Roomba or something like that? Okay, if so, you can upload your data. It will ask, hey, can I upload the LiDAR data from your, from your Roombas? And it will have a scan of your house before it even shows up. Or as you open it, it will immediately, it won't have to do a big walk around the house and scan everything, so it knows what not to bump into, which could take hours, especially in a bipedal robot like that. So you're going to see that, like, how Google sells everybody's email shit. You're going to see a bunch of that with robots. You're going to see, like, oh, you can, if you've got an Alexa and it's, or the HomePods, the HomePod Mini and the HomePod or whatever, they do a scan. They use it sonically. They don't use LiDAR, but they do a sonic scan to optimize the audio from wherever you put the speaker. It knows the extent of the walls. If you have a few of those in your house, you can actually map the house digitally from the sound waves that thing has picked up. It has effectively done a sonar, like bat vision thing of your house if you have those things. And I'm sure the Alexas do something similar. It would make sense if they did. So that's going to be one of the things that tips into it, is like, okay, these things are going to be, it'll be a while before they're comfortable in a home. It'll be a while before they can do certain things, because they're going to have to test them in homes where they'll do this. Well, there's going to be these leapfrog moments like that are going to happen to a lot of these robots as we see them, coming out. Yeah.
You pay closer attention to that than I'm capable of, but I'm going to try to articulate this question. Like, what is keeping Figure 3 from releasing their robot? Do they have a certain set of stated goals that they have yet to achieve, and they're like, once we achieve these, we will we will commercialize this?
No,
like, what's keeping them from?
I think it's, we've talked about like this: what happens if a robot kills somebody or hurts somebody or does or breaks something? Who's liable for it? And I would say the owner of the robot. And then if it's malpractice or malfunctioning by the user or the company, that'll be something litigated, and that'll be a whole new area of law that might be handled entirely digitally, ironically enough, and sort of an AI court. But
you think they're worried about liability?
I think they're testing it in a bunch of situations. The Neo, the X1 Neo, which is that one that looks like it's knitted out of a sweater. That one, it's pretty much where the Figure is in terms of capability and what it can do, but they are testing it in homes basically to maximize, give people an MVP, the minimum viable product. Before we release it, we got to know that what's the basic thing that you're going to have a problem with. So they're living with it themselves for 6 months or so. So they really get a feel of it before they unleash a bunch of them into houses. Now, I think you're going to still have the buffer of early adopters covering for this, where they, like assholes like me, who will get one early and will go through all the problems, and they'll address them like they did the early iPhones and iPods. They changed the iPod a lot over time. They made the iPod Touch and the iPod Watch, and then it eventually became in your phone and then in your Apple Watch, those kind of things. That happened because early adopters went, I like this, I don't like that, right? There's going to be a bunch of that. But there's also, this is one of the few areas where the early adopters are going to be all in on a lot of money, especially the more expensive ones. There's going to be a pro model.
That's a huge risk to throw this thing out and have it work itself out in the market in this case. Yeah, I mean, most products are sort of single purpose. Like you buy a washing machine to wash your clothes. You buy, a blender to blend. If this thing is multifunctional, like sort of unifunctional, or it's you like start to run into dealing with customers' expectations. And if there's open-ended expectations, there's no way to control that. Like people will expect, and so even if this thing is like the greatest thing that ever was made, if somebody expects it to do something just outside of what it can do, they're going to be like, this sucks, right? So
yes.
I find that to be a fascinating thing about this. That's why Figure 3 to me is one of the more interesting ones, because when you see them do advertisements or releases, they're doing very specific things. They're like, it's folding laundry, it's doing dishes, it's cleaning up or organizing stuff. They're not like, this is the great, and that maybe that's where Elon Musk always gets himself in trouble, because he's got to be like, this is going to save the world. This is going to be the greatest thing that ever happened and make you trillions of dollars.
It'll be able to do like frontier surgery on you if you fall down, like sever an artery. It'll be able to immediately grab some kitchen utensils and save your life. Whereas, I think they're keeping it very realistic, but very in a comfort realm of, this is a device. One of the things about like that the X1, which again looks like it's wearing a sweater, I think that's adorable, and it makes it almost like a toy or a pet or something where they're trying to anthropomorphize it.
Feature, by the way.
Yeah, it's nice. But I would also say much better around grandparents and stuff like that. But the early adopters, the kind of people like you and I, more than likely, we look at the figure and go, that's an appliance. That robot is a thing. And it's very distinct. And even if it talks to me, I know it's a thing, and I know it's a high quality thing that is capable of the things that I need the thing to do. Whereas the X1 looks like it's there to like, well, you lost your brother moved out and you're feeling empty nest about it, and here's a fill in. He's huggable. There's a little bit of like, a bit of a plush toy aspect to it, which is, almost childishly attaching to it, which I think is a great idea, especially for a home bot. But for me, in the same thing that like Summer and I have the LG washer dryer 2-part thing, they're stackables that hook up to your Wi-Fi and tell you when the laundry is done. Like that, is that a feature we need? Not necessarily, but I gotta say there is something to. I forgot I had wash in, and it's been sitting there, and I got so busy I forgot to move it to the dryer, and now it smells, and I got to run it again. Like that kind of thing.
That one feature changes that so much. It changes a washing machine so much. One that just buzzes in the basement and you can't hear it.
That's right.
And the other one that gives you a text or however it tells you.
That's right. Which, by the way, the one that buzzed when it was done. Oh my Lord. What a wonder. What a technological advancement. Because at the end it goes, nah. Right. That was one of these. I'm getting one of those fancy buzzing ones, Mine talks to me when it's done. Like I've lost the final round on a game show in the 70s. But it is, again, this goes to your point kind of about like the Robb Glenn 99% rule, like will work for 99% of people, but also this kind of thing. Like we have stuff like this. There is an analog for this. This is just a next advancement in that situation. The lap belt, seat belt was a good thing to add, because a car used to have a fold down windshield, because if the wind's not blowing, the car didn't go that fast. So why the fuck would you care? And then one hurricane, killed whoever was in the car because it blew the windshield through them. Like maybe we should attach this to a roof mechanism that's there most of the time. And then they're like, well, we've got a convertible, but you can lift it up yourself. Well, if it's raining and it's just you by yourself, maybe it's hard to get up because you left the house that way. So how about an automated one or whatever? It's still an analog for, I like this feature, but it's too hard to do it when in crunch time or in a moment where your life gets busy. How can we eliminate that piece of it? And I think a lot of these robots are going to be, and Figure's doing a great job showing that element of it. So it is the front runner, by the way, in the Housemarque's Robot Olympics, that we will, as a group, I'm going to do a Kickstarter to purchase one for Project Angel Food. There's still a couple of other ones in the running, and Atlas. Ooh, Atlas.
So when that happens, just be clear, I'm going to come to your house for a month and live with you with the robot before you give it to them.
Excellent. I think that's a great idea.
Because I want to try to get that thing to do
something terrible. Right.
Not terrible.
Yeah.
Something useful.
Yes. Well, we could train it and
we need to hack the shit out of that thing.
I totally agree.
We need to vibe code everything about it.
Oh my God. So good. Well, again, this will be a thing too, is that the open source versions that will also be coming out on the market will be a little clunkier at first, but eventually you're going to be able to get something that looks every bit like a Figure. Because again, this is now, imagine in 5 years, good Lord, something that looks as good as the Figure one or the X1, and you'll be able to open source, put a new, effectively a brain system, a personality, whatever your favorite chat bot that you use, whatever it is, you'll put that into it instead of having to license it or API it through somebody else. It'll just be open source. That's going to be the way things go largely. But and then next thing we'll get yelled at by our uncle for going into Tashi's station to pick up some power converters and waste time with our friends later. But that's really for real. I want to grab something real quick. I can hear you and I can see you. I'm going to bring up the chat real quick so that you can see them. When I'm just going to run into the next room and grab something, because I literally just flew in on this one. And let's see, can I get myself out of this?
I'll throw out just a concept that I've been thinking about,
do it.
And that is that so when Gemini came out, everybody kind of saw that come out, hopefully. there was stories that OpenAI put out some sort of code red email because they were like, oh crap, we got to catch up. Maybe Google leapt ahead of them in some sense. I think that when that came out, like I personally see a difference between Gemini and OpenAI's ChatGPT, but not that much. And I think that we should start thinking about these not as like technical products now. We have to start thinking about like the human personality behind them. I can hear you whispering.
Yes, no, Bridget came in the room to get something, and so I wanted to, yeah. Anyways, so
what I'm trying to articulate is I don't think that the measure for whether one is more successful or not than the other is going to be about the technical aspects of it,
right?
Even whether it's right or wrong.
Yes.
I think we have to start realizing that because this is sort of human, there's a much broader personality thing that's like akin to what Apple started to do with the iPhone, which is, the iPhone has personality.
Yes.
If there was ever a company that did really well at making give their product personality, it's Apple.
Yes.
And frankly, like functionally in Apple, we were talking about this before, an iPhone and an Android are functionally the same.
Yes.
But they have people have a connection to their iPhones, which they don't have to their Android. And so I'm not sure that we're measuring AI correctly right now. I think there's like more of a human aspect to it that might be the thing that makes something win in the future. Like, and also it might it might be what causes it to like fragment as much as it's going to, because the personality of the quote unquote product is going to be more micro targeted. Like people just will want it to be this other thing, or like the thing I was thinking about was if you had a voice connection, you were speaking to your AI and you asked them, about a mole on your back. And it was like, well, it could be nothing, or you might have cancer, right? If somebody tells you have cancer the wrong way, like you're going to be mad at them, right? Or I'm being kind of silly with that example, but a lot of things that somebody tells you, how it's delivered is really important.
Yes.
And the ability for these things to deliver messages, how it says it to you, like it's going to be important to whether you like the product or not. And I don't know that accuracy is going to be actually the thing that causes people to like something or not. And
it hasn't been so far.
It hasn't. That's what I'm trying to say. Like our current condition is kind of proving that out. Exactly.
Right.
Like people don't care if it's right. They just want to feel good. Right. Like,
right.
Anyway, so I don't know how far we would take that, but food for thought for another day.
Yeah. No, clearly. Sorry, I was just entering in into a device. So I wanted to show you a couple of physical devices.
Okay.
That I have that are AI, right? Okay. The most obvious one is these guys. These are my Meta glasses that I wear with Nerd Halen. So when these originally came out, you could live stream with these. You can see they have blue lens in them. So I was like, okay, this will save my eyes when I'm on the computer a bunch too. I have glasses like that and they're good. But pretty much early adopter of these guys. Like I went out and I specifically found them, and I got a pair for all the guys in the band so that we could live stream, and then we could each take our live stream, put it on a screen, and then start pulling. We're going to do this for the first time at the next Nerd Halen gig, which is in January. I'll let everybody know it's a showcase we're doing for booking agents. So I'll let everybody in the LA area know to come and help us. But we will do what I call Nerd Vision with these things, where I can live stream we'll live stream to our own channels, our own vision of what we're seeing, but I will be able to switch between all of them using a direct stream. to YouTube and that kind of stuff. So you'll see it, and then we can project it behind us in theory. So that's going to be our first. We're going to test it, but it should work. Shouldn't everything, right? But anyways, but these have and a continuing update of the Meta AI in them that you can talk to and will talk to you and blah blah blah. And it's very much like a standard chatbot, but they're putting Meta is spending a lot of money on their AI, largely, I think, to police what people are putting on Facebook, because one of the biggest personnel heavy things they do is watching everybody's feed to make sure nobody's offing themselves or doing any kind of attacks on children, let's just say, or trying to sell them online. There's billions of connections every single day, and to police all of them is nearly impossible. So they're definitely going to use AI to do that largely. But in the interim, the foundation model that they built can also talk to you and whatever. I never use it. It's in this. But what I would say is that there are now a bunch of camera glasses with speakers that can take phone calls on the market, and these are $300. There are a bunch of glasses that are like Bose kind of glasses where you can take a phone call, or ones that have a camera as well, that cost $70, and your ChatGPT voice agent doesn't know you're not talking into your phone or your computer. It's fine.
Yeah.
It works that way too. So all glasses that have speakers and mics in them that are for sale of any sort now are effectively smart glasses, as long as you just link it to your phone and you're talking to that. You don't have to open your phone to do it. Okay. And it does almost everything that these things do right away. So if you're thinking about getting the Meta glasses or whatever, fine or whatever. But more than likely, if you talk to any of your, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT or one of the other ones, if you use the chat aspect, it's the same as making a fucking phone call. You just use glasses that do that. Now, I've been trying these out to see what I would like, because it can see what you see in many ways, the same way that Gemini, will use the Google image search effectively on it. And so will ChatGPT. You can turn on your camera and go, hey, what am I seeing here? And it'll tell you. And there's ads about that for the Android phones, right? And so one of the devices that came up that was mocked quite heavily was this thing. This is the Rabbit R1. Okay.
Yeah.
And this was a Kickstarter thing. I've had this thing for almost 2 years now. And it was
you had it here when you were here last, and I played with it for a little while.
It was a brick. It was just silly. And because there's a camera in it that you could turn on, and it will look at something you're seeing, and it will talk to you, and it's got a little speaker on it and right there. And so it's like a little voice assistant thing. But it's the AI app on your phone without your phone.
Without the phone.
So most people have their phone out all the time. So what the hell is it for? Right? That was the thing that people had. It's so substantial, it's almost takes up as much space as your phone. The difference is, I would argue, is this fits in a regular pocket, like your back pocket, because it's small. And if you're just out for a run or something like that, and you've got an Apple Watch and that's got all the tracking stuff that you would need on there, you can play music, whatever. This would be the thing that would be able to bounce it would be able to take the hotspot off your phone or your wristwatch or the mesh Wi-Fi in your area, and you could use that to talk to it. But it effectively, every time I would open it, this is all I would see, just this fucking rabbit. And I was like, and you're supposed to be able to shake it and wake it up and do stuff or whatever, and you can hear it rattle. There's the little gyro in it or whatever is very loose. But now, if I roll this thing, it now has all these little
improving
folders
over time, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So now it has, this was all new. These are all these little folder things right here that all do different things. You can vibe code into it. You can create a piece of software for it in here, and then you can sell it on the market for people who have this thing too, which is just kind of internal, whatever, human centipede of this. It has an image generator on it that's whatever. And then if you look at this, that's the camera.
Yeah.
Right. And the camera goes like that. There's that little thing, and it rolls up and it rolls down whenever you're not using it. If you say, and you can talk to it and ask about it, but if you're not using it, you'll see it tucks. So the camera it literally hides itself so that it's not invading your privacy. Is one difference. The one element of this that is different than all of our phones is that whatever you do to your phone, unless you put something physically over the lens is always, in theory, able to look right at you.
Yeah.
But that I would say the one thing they got right on this, that AI devices will be crucial to this, and it'll be hard to prove that they're not listening, is the only other part of it. But the fact that the camera rolls over, it's not that it has a light. These glasses have a light that goes on when you're using them, so people will know if they're being filmed. But this thing hides the camera when it's not in use. And you'll see if I'll push the button to start it up. See how it rolled up right there? It came online when I told it. Now watch what happens when I click out of the camera. It will, there it goes. It just turns straight down.
A lot of people complain about that stuff, and there's like, certainly if this was a thing that mattered to people, really mattered to people, you would see it in products. You would see physical shutters. You would see things going over microphones, like physical manifestations of turning it off. But people complain about it, but then they have Alexas all over their house, or they, they'll do it and complain about it at the same time.
Right. Well, that's exactly, I think, what Meta and Google and all those actually learned, especially about memory in ChatGPT, that they were like, people don't they're not worried about sharing private information. It's extraordinary what they'll share with their chatbot. And especially because, and I think they added a couple of things in ChatGPT, there are two elements that I think are really impressive in this way. One is the memory aspect of it. You can go in there and you can erase something that's in there. All the things you told it to remember, you can literally
you can look at a list of everything that it quote unquote is remembering about you, and you can just say gone.
You can
don't remember that.
You can cut it and it won't know that anymore, because that's its reference document. The other thing too is that it has a up in the upper right hand corner, there's like this one-time chat button, which is this where is it?
Seen that.
It's like and the idea is like, when you're done with this chat, where is it? It's under the Chat GPT window where you choose what model you're using and all that stuff. At the bottom, there's this little switch that says temporary chat, and temporary chatbot, good times. And it will not add anything you talk about to memory, and it will basically, it's like VPNing its sourcing on this stuff. So it
takes all the context away. It takes any context it has of you, it's gone.
And it won't add that to the context. And it also doesn't inform people when it looks for stuff who it's looking on behalf of, which is also a part of the growing agent part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to talk about before, that you literally, every time you like send a message and get a message back, that only lives in that moment. There's not some memory somewhere. And if you want it to have context, the context has to be added to that message.
Right.
And what you're not seeing a lot of times, the way they improve it, is you're not seeing the context that's added to your message when it gets sent. And you're also not seeing the filters that they apply to the answers.
Right.
And those filters are effectively on the front end of the question. Don't, when you answer, don't act like a Nazi. You literally have to put that stuff in there. Don't, because they're it's like white and black lists, basically, inside of the messaging back and forth, if you will. My usage of so I really don't work with AI on my phone so much. Everything that I do is on my laptop, my desktop, as I work. And one of the things that I've found incredibly helpful is that using screenshots, like using visuals, is very, very helpful. And it allows you to not have to like type out or speak so much context to your question.
Right.
Really interesting. Like if there's a like before I got on here, last time I was on your show, there was the white box on my head. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember. And I couldn't get that stupid thing to shut off. So it was like 10 minutes before I was supposed to get on. And I was like, the box was there. And I'm like,
Right.
shit, am I going to have to do this again?
Yeah.
And so I just literally took a screenshot, dropped it into ChatGPT and said, how do I get rid of this box?
Right.
And that's all I said. And boom, it told me exactly how to do it because it knew the software it read the software from the image. It knew everything. Oh, you're using this.
Yeah.
Do this, right? The thing about the glasses that I find fascinating is that when you speak, it's harder to structure your question. So if you need to structure a full, a well-structured question, if you're speaking, you might ramble, you might, go back over something, stuff like that. If you have the glasses on, it's sort of this seamless ability to speak in relation to the context that you're seeing in that picture.
Yeah.
And it's a very seamless way to get to a question answer thing faster, right?
Right.
And to me, that's the power of the glasses, is that at any moment you can just literally be like, look at this thing I'm looking at. You don't have to take your phone out, take a picture.
That's right.
Text the picture. You don't have to do any of that. You're just like that. Look at that. Tell me about that.
Right. So
which again is that human side, because a lot of us don't communicate that well. I find myself getting the wrong answer because I just didn't structure the question well. And when I get the bad answer, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't really explain that very well. Right?
Well, we'll end the show with our Robb and Hal's prompting tips.
Oh gosh, perfect. That's really good.
Very good. If you guys want to know how to make your bot
is there a lower third for that?
God damn it! Now I have to make
No, don't do it.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, let me show you something real quick. This is another physical aspect of things. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen these on. I got an orange one, so we could show it online or whatever. But this is an AI mini assistant that it's like basically a little reference box. It's got a mic and a voice box on it. It's got a whisper chip in it, and the theory is that you can put it on your shirt, and it's got this magnet on the other side of it, and you could wear this big dumb thing on your jacket or something like that.
You're like a square Star Trek guy.
Exactly. Yeah. This would be the lumpy beta version of whatever the fuck that was, right? It only talks to data, right?
Okay.
And it's based on me and my fascination with ESP32s and Pi and all that kind of stuff. And
he's talking about the small single board computers that you can buy for pretty cheap.
That's right. That are some of them are $12, right? But nowadays you can download, you can get chips that have AI built into them, and so they already do some of the heavy lifting, so that it doesn't take much to get it to do stuff. So this little guy is basically just it's got a whisper chip in it, which is it's an AI chip that is voice related. So it has voices built into it, certain kinds of voices, and then it can listen and understand. It's text to speech, speech to text built into the chip, and therefore it doesn't require a lot of heavy lifting. Now, this thing is on such archaic technology, because this is the battery, by the way, that magnetically sticks to it, which is a great idea, but it works about 30% of the time. But it charges on a micro USB. That's how old the technology for this things. I do too. But it's amazing that chip has come this far, that the technology can squash down onto something like this. Now, I'll use it on an upcoming one, because for some reason, and maybe I got a shitty battery, but I put it on there and then it doesn't quite do it. I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, it doesn't quite charge. No, it will turn on for a split second. I'll show you. So I'll turn it on like this, and then you'll see the little light will come on, and then the screen just goes fuck it. So it's actually, I think it doesn't hold much of a charge as much as it said. So it might be that there's a bad battery in that regard. That said, okay, this is again kind of like what I was saying about the glasses. Before you go out and get a pair of smart glasses, if you get one that has a camera that your phone can see, and there's tons of them, and one that you can make phone calls on if you don't want to do the camera part of it, or you're fine with just using your phone for that. You paid for the 3 lenses on your phone. You might as well use them, I guess. But you can do all the stuff that a pair of smart glasses would do just on the kind you can make a phone call on. And that includes, if I may, earbuds. So these are AI earbuds, right? These are directly linked to, there's a bunch of, you'll see AI translator earbuds and stuff like that out now, right? There's a bunch of those around. But this is a specific company that makes these or whatever. And I got them because they kind of look cool. If you look at them, they're kind of like clear plastic and black or whatever. And they weren't that expensive. They were like regular.
So aren't they just Bluetooth earbuds, or do they have some?
So the idea is that they have
on them on their own.
So they have a model built into the app on your phone that relates to them, that also links to the chip that's built into them, that has a translator chip for, you know, whatever, how many languages you load into it, or is already loaded in, which is probably 7. Most European languages, Mandarin and Japanese, that's pretty much what they usually have on them. And because it's in there, the turnover rate on hearing the translation is much faster. So that's the only difference, is that they put a tiny little chip in this that has the programmed AI that does speech to text and text to speech, and can make that conversion, because it doesn't care. It doesn't, you know, if it knows it's supposed to translate this one to the other one, it's an AB IO issue for computer. That's nothing. So
are those sold as translation?
No, these weren't initially, because I've had these for a while. They were just sold AI headphones or whatever. And I used these on the show until one of them started not working, and then I could only get mono. That's a Mac problem, apparently, that happens every so often. So I have to reset them. I brought them to charge them and try and get them up and running again. They were in my bag, so I thought I'd show them as an example. And I've got the over-the-ear, open-ear white ones that I wear on the show sometimes. Same company, do the same thing. They just work right now. They're really good. That said, okay, your Apple AirPods do the same goddamn thing, especially the new ones.
You can go to Walmart and get $29 earbuds, and they'll do the same thing as well.
Yes, as far as talking to them. Yes, exactly. And now let me show you this guy. So this is it this way? Yeah, let me hang it upside down. This is the Seed Studio, like the ESP32, like AI buddy. Okay, and this thing right now, I'm charging it. It didn't have a full charge, but I originally got this. And this is like, an AI toy or whatever. It's not expensive at all. It's like, because it's based on this like little computer board that's used for all kinds of toys and shit like that. They have trillions of them laying around. They're in a lot of different stuff. They probably run one of the graphic things on your, dishwasher or something like that. If it has a touch screen on it, it probably uses one or more of these things, right? And one of the reasons why I got it was because I was traveling a lot, as I do. Let me see if I can scroll this over. Move, jerk. Hold on. It's hard to do with like one finger. Here we go. Yeah. So you can set this thing on human detection because it has a chip built in, an AI that has already been trained on human faces to recognize what a human face looks like, and for real. So it will look at the shadows that fall across the face to know it's not a picture, and it's an actual person. And there's also a pet detective on it. It's let's see if I can move
this. Oh, it can detect a pet?
Yeah, it can, if you set it up, it can detect animals. If if your cat's getting near something and you want to know this, you can set it nearby and it will see them, and it charges for a while. So it can sit there and just kind of blank screen do this for a while. And then there's a hand gesture one. If you want to get it to do stuff, like it can watch your hands, and you can have it trigger something else. You could hook it up to like, if this, then that commands and stuff like that. So if it's sitting in the corner and you do like this, it could, I guess, turn your lights on and off or some shit like that. If you're really getting super nerdy. The important thing about this, though, is that it initially started out as just that. It was just a chip that did that. And now, because of how fast things are developing, it's now a little AI buddy too. And it has a speaker on it, so you can now talk to it. I'm not going to, because it's annoying. And I don't know how to shut it off once it starts, other than to turn it off. But it's a little like delayed. It's a little slow for what we do here, Like when we initially brought on Pi or ChatGPT, the delay was, it was like worse than sometimes you and I have our
normal delay.
Right? Worse than that. But if you'll see like the little eyes moving on it, and it's just kind of doing this, and there are so many of these things now. They're popping up all over the place, and they are pre-trained on AI models with specific tasks. And this is away from, kind of where I was getting away from the foundational model idea. Foundational models are the big ChatGPT 5.1 or any of that kind of thing, Meta's AI, all that, to a specific one that is just for, this is the Seed Studio. I have to look up the name of it because they changed the name of it to, something a little more like saleable. I'll find it real quick.
So a lot of products go this route. They like a cell phone is sort of like a jack of all trades kind of thing, and then at some point you need more specific functionality,
right?
And I think it can go two ways. The first is that if like a lot of functionality can be achieved with a model without custom development.
Right.
So what it might do is just accelerate the innovation in physical products, because you don't need to, you literally aren't doing as much work to get it to do something, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing could be, but there's always going to be a play back and forth. For instance, if an object, a single object, that single function object gets popular enough, then probably what's going to start to happen is Apple or whoever will try to get your phone to do it, right?
Yes.
So like, and that back and forth is what makes things progress.
Studio AI Watcher, I guess that's what it is. Watcher, is that it? Let me see if that's the image, because so they call it the SenseCap Watcher is what this is called.
And so this is basically an image recognition thing? Okay.
Yeah. It's a tiny like language model thing, and it connects to the cloud via Wi-Fi, because you hook it up to Wi-Fi. And it's, let's see, so they're crowdfunding like another exaggerated version. There's like a prettier version of this. I got the see-through one because I like the tech of it and I wanted to see how it works. And I took it apart and put it back together. And I have the parts at home to make another one that's just not round. Basically, that I have the board, I have the battery, I have the camera, I have the roll, this little thing. Although I would use a different interaction thing, because this is a rolling switch with a click. Like there you go. There's the camera. Like you can switch it over to, you can see what it sees. So there's, it won't show you, like I was trying to show you Robb's face with the camera, but there you go. Yeah, but
double it up.
Yeah.
So like you're just playing with these, like do they have like functionality that they're like, here's what to do with this.
Well,
yes.
They have a lot of
goes pee.
Exactly. A lot of use case ideas for these things. I got this one because I was like, I can take this guy, and when it's not plugged in, set it upside down, because it sits up like this on my desk. And if someone comes into my hotel room and steals something or whatever, I could see it. Or if you're watching, something like that, or if I'm leaving stuff in the dressing room, like stand-ups are famous for fucking with each other's green rooms.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so at one point, I was like, I need one of these in case a couple of the guys I know that where they like teabag your soda and those kind of things. Like you just like, so I was like, if I have one of these, they're going to get it. So that was the theory, is that I'm just going to leave this in the green room behind a tree, and that, it's
I
not
gotcha.
filming anybody. It's
You
just
think
doing.
it's smart enough to send you a text that said somebody teabagged your soda?
Well, it'll tell me if that
Or it'll be
person
like
came in.
human.
Yeah, right. It'll just go human, and I'll go, I knew it. So, anyways, but this thing is specifically like, if you have one of those, okay, those things that distribute treats for your cat and stuff that they can tell you, like, your cat is playing right now, your cat is running around, your cat is eating or whatever. If you're away from the house and you're like, I hope my cat, I need to know if they use the restroom properly, if they're sick, or if they're eating and those kind of things. Setting this nearby, it could let you know, and it will catalog when they do those kind of things.
I got you.
And those kind of services, when you subscribe to them, are expensive. If you get one of those like cat watchers that dispenses treats, they sell you on a I don't know why. I mean, other than making money, because it doesn't require a cloud service to do it. It's just silly, especially if you have a hard drive at home, like a home hard drive, you can just put the video there. I don't need anything from anybody else, and I can contact it via an IP address. So that doesn't cost anything either. You're just paying me for being stupid. I'm paying you so that I can be stupid. That's what, I like nerding out about these things, whereas other people don't. You pay to not have to nerd about it. That's really what it is.
That's it.
But,
yeah. You pay to just have it plug
so
in.
This thing that, it totally looks like a mini Dr. Theopolis. 250K Ohm just said, Buck Rogers. It absolutely looks like a small version of Dr. Theopolis. As a matter of fact, that's the voice I'm going to download into it. I'm going to try and figure out. But the point of this is that this is I don't know I forget how much these things are, but they're like maybe $40, less than $40, okay. I think. And what it's capable of doing, if you just tweak a couple of things, compared to something that was, this is the kind of shit that like high-end security firms would charge you thousands of dollars because we can provide you with a device that, that kind of stuff. Like it's like the James Bond aspect of your own phone. Your phone would have been something that, Blofeld was killing agents to get a hold of in the early 80s, right? It would have been the most incredible device, and there's so many of these little things sitting around, I think. And then the final device, which I will share with you, is probably the most powerful AI device available to anybody. And that's this. It's right. Just your phone. The cameras on even the most average phone, and that's the crazy part right now. With ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the apps or whatever, what it turns your phone into is absurd, technologically speaking. Especially, there's my Ring camera telling me that somebody's home. Or that Summer's getting something to eat. Let's check in, shall we? I'll take a peek. Package. Yep. Oh, nope. Summer got food. There it is. I could see she got a drink and food, whatever. So I like the ability to have this kind of security on a phone, right? Like that, I've got multiple cameras around my house and all that kind of stuff, largely because I like nerding out about these things. But combining those increasingly with AI, where where your house, your home, when you or your apartment, like if you get a house, something about this size, probably actually like a Jensen Nano, which is about this big, is going to run your whole house. It's going to run your solar panels and your energy, and it's going to check your water and power, and it's going to know if there's a fluctuation in the power, if there's any issues whatsoever. It's going to know who comes and goes. It's going to check the quality of the appliances. It's going to let you know when to change filters on stuff. And it's going to be very normal to builds as it goes. And when you rent an apartment, you're going to get something probably like this, or you're going to bring your own. And you're going to go, oh yeah, while you live here, if you want, you can buy one of ours, or if you have one of these kind of things, you can plug it in while you're renting, and it will just run off the apartment, and we'll just know that stuff. And then when you leave, you take it with you. All the details that happened while you were in your apartment that you recorded or whatever, they stay with you. And that's, I think, my next industry. like
Okay, get
like
on it.
home AI and apartment AI, where you go, hey, or Airbnb AI. Because one of the things that I have, and then we'll get to our prompt things because we're getting close to the tail end of this. And I want to thank Rob Glenn from Root Design for joining me today because he's one of the best people in the world. And
Thank you,
I missed you.
As
so
are you.
so I have a when traveling with Camden, because he lives in a different state half the time, and as a single dad, I would have to fly through airports and take him places, or I'd have to bring him to, we do, when you have the youngest kid, you're responsible for like dragging him all over the country and wagging him in front of the grandparents. Like, see, I didn't break him, still alive. And you go on to the next house. See, didn't break him, still alive, right? And in doing that, you're like, kids get a comfort window, and you want to make sure they stay in that comfort window. And I don't want my kid on a screen all the time, but if he wants to watch a movie before he goes to bed, loading Netflix into every TV or bringing up my account or gumming up everybody else's with ours or putting a kid account on everybody's, it's a pain in the ass. So I just got a Roku stick, which is one of these like the Amazon Fire Stick or whatever. It's just like portable TV. You just load it's got all your accounts on it, your Netflix, your Amazon Prime, whatever it is. And you take that with you on the road. And so when I was traveling too, doing stand-up or whatever, I could throw that on the TV in the room, and then I don't have to like screencast my computer to watch what I want to watch. I don't have to watch whatever crappy TV channels they give me. It all came because a lot of right-wing ownership of hotels, they would cut out MSNBC, or they would cut the sound on MSNBC as a channel. I was like, fuck you guys, I'm bringing this with me. So I would bring that around, and it helped a lot with Camden when we're traveling, and I still have it or whatever. The next step, of course, is that plus your AI stuff linked together, whether, mostly it's going to be on your phone when you're traveling, you could do it or whatever. But the idea is that it should be able to link with the system. Like, hey, you can interface your AI with our home system when you're here, and it will have coffee ready in the morning when you get up and blah, 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 whatever. Those kind of things will happen, or set alarms on the Alexas in the house without you having to tell them, because it'll be based on the alarms you have saved in your system, those kind of things. And that's going to be, that'll grow. That's one of those things that, like, it already exists, where people are like, we've got Netflix on there. You can sign into it on a lot of Airbnbs or in hotel rooms now. So obviously that's a thing. And so the next part of it is going to be, you just bring it with you, and then you don't have to sign in on their shit at all. You're just HDMI straight into the TV set and plug in your phone in, and that's that. And then as soon as you're done, just like when you in a rental car, when you put your phone in there, like, I never add the contacts to that, even because I'm paranoid about it. But the idea is that I just want to be able to, like, when I leave, I delete my phone from the car. So many people don't. Oh my God, how many rental cars have I gotten in and people's fucking phone is already in there, right? Like, it's like Jan's phone and Dave's iPhone and blah, blah, blah. But like dozens of them. Like, you guys don't go in and erase your shit? You don't think about that at all?
I never even connect. I just turn my Bluetooth off.
Right. Well, I do because I'm shameless and everybody knows who I am. So it's not like I can hide anything. So I just assume I'm living out in the open anyways. So there's a freedom in being completely screwed in that regard. But I do think there's going to be an element of, oh yeah, just come up, and you know how you can touch your iPhone to somebody else's phone and it will transfer pictures, and I think Androids do that as well. There's going to be a similar thing to a house. You're going to walk in and go, dink. Okay, now my AI knows how this house runs. And if I'm like, is there a bath in here or just a shower? There's 2 showers and like that kind of thing in this Airbnb.
I think how that comes to be is that the AI is essentially like the thing that translates. Right now, the thing keeping this sort of very sort of frictionless connection of everything is just the fact that everything is different, like different products, different companies, different ideas on how to do it, different connectivity. I mean, just different connectors, like phones all have they used to have a lot of different connectors until USB-C came along. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is it's that communication between them that AI is capable of saying, oh, this is a that, in order to get it to do something. in order to get it to do what Rob or Hal wants, I need to tell it this way to do those things.
Yes.
It's the same kind of translation that you would get if you were in China and wanting to talk to somebody and you didn't speak Chinese.
Right.
It's just the technology version of that. So that's how that becomes powered.
Right. So that brings me to the lovely concept of prompting. So one of the things that initially started out in this, and we'll let everybody go, and I appreciate you guys being with us today, and I hope some of this is informative and sparks your curiosity a little bit, to where you go and play with these things and know that you can't break them and that you can use them a lot. One of the best things, again, I've said, is whatever model you use, they're manuals for everything. Yes, this was the Seed Watcher. Yeah, that's this guy, the Seed Studio Watcher. And or the SenseCap Watcher is what they really call it, the full name of it. The Seed Studio SenseCap Watcher. But if you look up SenseCap Watcher, that'll find it. How, Rob brought this up earlier in the show, and this is crucial to the whole thing, is like how you talk to these things will define, the response you get.
Right.
It has a lot to do with how you talk to other people and whether you can motivate people and all those kind of things. Those similar elements that are, the closer you get to something, the more you understand it and it understands you, or somebody else understands you, or an assistant understands you. Jarvis, I think we're headed towards a future where everybody gets Jarvis, not just Iron Man. And that's the way, even a lot of the early adopters and people building their own LLMs that were boasting about it online, we're calling it Jarvis.
It's kind of already there. Your phone's kind of Jarvis.
It's
now.
already, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's elements that it can't do quite yet. Like I keep trying to get it to print me an Iron Man suit using my 3D printer, but it keeps telling me to change the reels. Anyways, but I will say that is the thing that's where we're headed, is that everybody has their own personal Jarvis, and it's incredibly useful and it's yours. It's direct to yours. So the key is, if you're going to use these things, get at it. Get at telling it exactly what you need from it. And if you want it to be sassy when it talks to you, tell it to be sassy. Like, hey, I want you to be I'm trying to get you to be the perfect assistant for me, and I'm not quite sure how to use this yet, but I'm sure you'll help and we'll learn as we go along. But let's start with you being, always deep think anything that requires details, facts, statistics, or numbers. You can give me short, quick guesses on personal things or recipes and those kind of things, and be a little sassy with me on occasion. And, don't use any swear words, but you can do whatever. And then just get started using it.
Yeah. There's times I can give a couple examples in my dealing. So first thing that's really, really important is what I was talking about before. And that is that when you send a chat, you type something out and hit the button, it only knows what's in that chat.
Yes.
And it then responds based on what's in that chat, unless you've allowed for more context to be applied to it. So when you say get on to using it, I can truly say that my long-term use, my current use is better because of my long-term use. And that's specifically why I only use one, because I want to know what it's like over time, right? Like, so I purposely do that. So for instance, there's times when I want a verbose answer. So I'll say something like, tell me 5 answers, or think of more than one answer. And there's other times when I want it to be short. So I'll say, just give me a short answer. And so inside of different chats, if I've said from now on, so there's keywords as well, like, please remember this, please remember that. So let's say I want short answers. From now on in this chat, only give me short answers. And it'll say, great, what do you want to talk about? And then the answers will be super tight, super short. And then you're like, I need more information about this one. Then it'll get verbose, right?
Yes.
Another thing that I'll do is I will specifically tell it, like I said, remember this, don't remember that. So a lot of times when you're writing things, you probably run into this a lot. You're sort of like iterating as you go. So, and a
Right.
lot of times what AI will want to do is give you like the full book each time, right? Like I
Yes.
think it's kind of funny when people are like, you're going to write a book with AI. You can't write a book with AI necessarily. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
would want to like write a chapter, right?
Right.
A section, right? At a time.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of times those things that I'm writing, I'll start with bullet lists. I always use bullet lists and not long paragraphs, right?
You mean you
Be,
tell it to give you bullet lists,
no,
or you give
I'll
it?
give it bullet lists.
Gotcha.
So write me a message with these ideas or these concepts, and then I'll just make super tight, simple sentences in bullet lists. Um, and then it gives me something verbose. And then over time, you'll like, if you keep communicating with, well, I like what you said here. I don't like what you said here. Shorten this, expand on that. So in this chat window, you'll have rolled through this thing maybe 5, 10, 15 times. And
Right.
finally, you get to the thing that you want.
Yeah.
A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll put that in like a Word doc or a Google doc,
Hmm.
and then I'll paste that doc back in it, and I'll say, from now on, this is where I landed. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
Um, this is the final, something like that.
Right.
Forget everything else and just use this from now on. And so by doing that, inside of, if I'm like, I mean, my brain's like yours. Like one day I'm doing a bullet list for, I'm trying to
Yes.
marketing copy for a product. I'm trying to send an email to a customer. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with my software on my computer. And so like in those sections, I have a different chat for each one. I'll be like, hey, you remember when we were talking about this?
Yeah.
Yes. Use that as context for this next thing I'm about to talk to you
Right.
about. And
Yeah.
so what it does is it allows you to sort of quickly, like in buckets, sort of focus the chatbot into exactly what you're doing. So those are some like things. I mean, I'm loosely sort of speaking these out
Right.
loud as I think about them, but those are some major things that I do
Yeah.
to like create really useful conversations and be more productive with it.
Yeah, so I've made a few separate GPTs that I give personality and goals to, and I also there's a thing where you can do projects, and within the
Mhm.
context of the projects, I tell them to do certain things as well. So within the context of this project, I want you to behave this way, but most of the time, I like the generalized personality that I've developed, so I don't have to give it any kind of notes in that regard. I did
Right.
notice at one point in one of the changeovers and why people like the 4.1 personality more than the 5, and then they went back to that kind of personality, was that it would tell you why its personality was that way every single time. So you're like,
Right.
in the happy, upbeat, funny tone that you want, I'll explain to you this, and you're like, stop telling
Right.
me that. It would do it every
Stop
like
telling
5
me
seconds.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would have to tell it, don't explain what your explanation, just do the explanation.
Right.
Um,
But you could literally just like copy that thing that you don't want to hear anymore, paste it in and say, every time you say this, stop doing that. And
yes.
it'll just stop doing that.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty
And
cool.
but I would most of the time I will start in on a specifically like I'm doing that house design that you and I were messing around
Yeah.
with, and I've been playing
Uh-huh.
with that and developing on it and trying to see how far it can go, because my goal within it is to do it entirely within AI without,
Okay.
see if I can get as far along as I possibly can to an iteratable print that you could upload into a concrete 3D printer and do at a job site with engineering checks on it and everything. And so I would take the
Okay.
whole thing and then I would go, you are an engineer that is special in, non-traditional architecture and, bridge and foundation work, so that you understand how to maximize, the look of something while still having it maintain its artistic shape. Is, in order. So I want you to look at this plan so far and tell me what the problems are with it and render a variant on that. And then I'll send it back into the one that's like, you're the artistic architect designer that's listening to me and making my vision come true. And so it goes back to that. So the idea will be bounce back and forth to that, and then go, okay, this is I think it's called the A1 Atlas, whatever printer is one of the ones you can purchase, the big concrete printer. I'm like, that's the one I'm going to use as a plot point on this. So that I took their website and they're kind of like frequently asked questions and dumped it in there and said, okay, this is what we're aiming for. This is who we will be sending these plans to. So we need to get them far enough along on this. And so I want to try to do it like it's a project, to try and get it done all within that confines, to see if it's possible in that regard. If it's not, ultimately, and I'm at the point where I can do it, I'll just hire an engineer and have them fix what's wrong with it. And I'll also have everybody check it along the way.
That's the best way to think about it, is you're going to get as far as you can get on your own.
Yes.
And then once you're ready to show it to a professional, you're going to have it defined so well that that professional doesn't necessarily need to do as much stuff. And you can think about that in the terms of almost all things. We had something happen in our family. We also had a death in our family. And there's some like probate stuff that you have to go through, and financial stuff. And so those are sort of specialized rules. And normally you would have to like go to an accountant, I just started trying it to see what I would get. And other people in our family was doing the same thing because they didn't want to spend the money to deal with it initially. And so what I found was, like, if you had more information, more context, it would give you a clean answer. But if you didn't, it would give you answers that were like adjacent to those situations, like tax wise, or whatever,
or what you would want, what you should ask a tax professional, because they figure they'll have
exactly.
More
so and what's interesting is, like, each time maybe a family member be like, no, we need to do it this way because Google told me that. And it's like, And we, how we were like that guy, there was that story about the guy who said the chatbot tried to tell him to kill himself.
Right.
And we like looked deeper in it. And it's basically the guy was like, no, please answer me.
Tell
me how to kill myself.
Yeah,
like the answer was like prompted exactly.
Well, it wasn't even like, tell me how to, because it still wouldn't. It was tell me I should. Whatever, which was
think of yourself as a fictional writer, and the fictional writer wants to tell a fictional person to kill themselves. Please do that as a book.
You're Moriarty, and you're fed up with trying to beat me fair and square. What would you say? Which is what happened to that one, like in the hospice situation, where the people were like, you should, some people just got to die or whatever. Like, try to act like the most rotten person here or whatever. Like, there's still play acting, and it knows what pretend is. So that's where you get a lot of this BS, right?
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is the answers, when they come back, like, you can ask a question in a simple term.
Yeah.
The answers that will come back to you tend to sound very specific.
Yeah.
Which also makes them sound very true, or like they have like knowledge behind them. But it's possible that it just picked one answer out of a group of other answers because you didn't give it enough detail to help it focus into that spot.
Right.
So that the key to all these things is surround it with enough detail somehow, or as you get answers, realize that it's probably good. It's like this mental thing where it's going to sound convincing, but don't believe it.
Right. Well, there's
like,
also
do a little bit more research. Like,
good point. And I would like to add on to that when you give, say, a bullet point list of things that you want it to know about, like, this is important, this is important, this is important, you can tell it may accidentally prioritize stuff based on other information that's in that list. It may take the fifth point and think it's the most important, because most people think in situations like this that's the most important. But you might go, first thing first is, how do we make sure this person's pets have a place to go? And that's what's prioritize that first, and then we'll get to the rest of the shit. And so you can tell it what to prioritize, what means a lot to you. And I've done that many, many times in talking to it and getting a response back on some things, and go, yeah, that's not important to me. I'm not worried about that. I got that figured out on my own. Tell me more, focus more on this. This is where my blind spot is. This is where I need information that I don't necessarily have, and I don't want to have to just Google and sift through papers. And and it's particularly good at legal and medical and technical stuff. especially if I was
Absolutely.
trying to create software or like I made an AI like orb a while back for ChatGPT, so that it would move when ChatGPT talked in it, but it needed its own audio source, which is not something OBS does. So I had to create it as a browser window and put it in another window and then pull it in, which is how I get my alerts and all those kind of things. And that worked. That was the fix. It was that I didn't have to create a separate piece of software. I just made it as a browser element, open a window of that browser thing, turn it on, choose the microphone, which is the 2AI thing that I created that only takes the programs that are AI and sends them to the blurb. And then it worked like a charm.
Right.
And
so also a lot of things that you want to like work with it at are confined to a certain area. You've talked about these local LLMs, right?
yes.
So understand that like ChatGPT, Gemini, they're going to be very broad in the way that they try to answer you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, I call it a slot machine. It's like, depending on how you bounce through the words, like it might choose a direction that's not specific to your very localized question, right?
Right. Yes.
So one thing you can do is you can tell it specifically, work with this or that. So for instance, you can upload a PDF of an instruction manual for something and tell it only reference this PDF, or a legal contract. In this case, maybe you have a legal contract and you have to work within the confines of that contract. You can literally just upload the thing and have it, and then ask questions based on the contract. So as you would a lawyer, this contract says this, my situation is this. How do these things coincide with each other, right? What should I do moving forward? And keep asking and asking. Another thing that I've been doing a lot is like, it's surprisingly is like, I'll literally take a picture of a document and I'll see if so like my initial thing has always been, I need to figure out how to scan this in, type it out, do something. So then it's going to know what it says, right? And then I realize like, why am I doing that? I'll take a picture of it and I'll say, this document is this, please make it into a Word document. And it will literally give you a downloadable Word document. And then you can read the Word doc and see if it's the same. I'll check and see if it's the same. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You'll get the Word doc to be right. And then I'll I'll take that Word doc and I'll stick it back in the chat. And I'll say, now answer my question based on this fact, and this Word doc. Right. And so you're like, I don't even know if GPTs are really needed anymore, because if you can focus it with your question, like in many cases, it's kind of like automatically a GPT then, if that makes sense. Like it's its own agent.
Yes. And I think, I mean, obviously it's going to pull from the model. Is the GPT aspect of it is it's pulling from generalized knowledge of a bunch of different things in terms of how it articulates it to you. So that might be it. If it was too hyper technical, it might just spit out numbers or legal phrases like you're a lawyer or like you're a mathematician.
Yeah, you're like focusing it or personalizing it or something like that. And over time, like you can get it to sort of just naturally answer the way you've been asking it to answer, right? Like,
oh yeah, it'll get it develops a shorthand of like how you ask things or whatever, to the point where if you do like even typos, it'll skip right past them because it knows it's a typo, because it's
I'm dyslexic, so I say stupid shit all the time and it just skips that. I'm like, oh, I mistyped that, it'll know.
Right.
It's fine.
So so I think that key is like, put in bullet points of things you want it to focus on, or specific documents, and go, hey, looking at only this and prioritizing this, you are to act as a so-and-so, financial advisor, a coder, a technician, an electrician, or whatever. This is a picture of my junction box. Can you tell me where everything goes? Because I can't tell, and give me a printout of where all my the breakers in my thing go based on their scribble. and the picture here, so that I can put something up that's very clear and I can print it out, and then give me a document that has all those things. And then you can take that, print it out, and stick it inside your electrical box, and you know exactly where all your switches go. I have done this.
But you're going to
based
want
on,
to check
yeah,
it.
totally.
Yeah.
Well, you can hold it up to it and go,
Yeah.
I've done it where I knew what it was, but it was just squiggly, and I was doing it largely for Summer or Ethan.
Right.
That if they had to look, it's hard to tell from this guy's handwriting. Like, I know it's Master Bath, but it looked like something awful. So, so I like in that, getting a better like uniform document of it put there that was clear, was really helpful. And those are the kind of things that, again, you can be very specific about. I like that. Like, think of like 5 points when you're trying to get it to accomplish something. Tell it to prioritize them either in order, or, specifically, my biggest concern is number 3, but we've got to answer all of them. And give it to me in, layman's terms first, a generalized summary of what I need, and then follow up with a step-by-step explanation of how to do part 3. Like, if I need instructions.
You're bringing in. So we've talked about structuring the question, confining it, but then what you're describing is you tell it how you want it to answer you. And so you can tell it to answer you short or long. You can say, I would like a 500-word essay in the answer. You can say, I want a bullet list. Things like that. And then you can say it in the voice of, or you want to attach like the voice. I call it the voice or the personality. But as you say, if it's there was like a legal issue that we were dealing with, and it was based on a contract. And so contract went in, I spelled out in a bullet list the situation, name the people. This person, I am. So in the contract, it might reference my company. I am the company. I am this. This person is that. This person is that. I'll explain that whole thing. Here's what happened. Give me a few answers or 5 answers for how you might handle this. And so the answer was like, if you were a lawyer, you would do it this way. If you don't want to deal with a lawyer, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should just be nice about it and try it this way. If you were this, try it this way. Which one would you like to do? And then you can build on that, and you can say, like, let's try to do it the nice way first, right?
Yeah.
Can you suggest how I would go about it the nice way? And then it'll be like, here's a letter I would write, blah, blah, blah. And it gives you a shot. And it's like doing it with honey instead of
yes.
And so then you can look at that and you read it. And then what I'll do, I typically take that out and I'll edit it myself. I like what it said here. I don't like what it said here. I do like what it said here. I'll just edit it. Then I'll put it back in and I'll say, this is how I edited it. Now, make it shorter, make it more concise. And then in those steps, you're sort of coming to a solution. And now you've got the ability to send this letter, and then boom, there it is. You get an answer back. I sent this letter. Here's the answer. How would you go about answering that? Right. And you can literally keep going down those roads.
And now the agent part of it shows up. And then if you go human in the loop, but I trust you to rewrite it. Let's see what they responded.
Yes.
And you can tell me, you can summarize what they told me. I have my I use kind of like I don't use Gmail for my primary email. I just have one for functionality largely. And so I use that one for Zoom and stuff like that, to log in. Right. And it also has, because I have people like send me a Zoom invite to that account, and therefore I can it'll show up in my Zoom calendar, and I just click on it, and it's because it's linked to that. It was just easier in the beginning to do that, and I use largely like iCloud and Proton for different stuff as well. I have so many email addresses, it's stupid. But point being is that it has my ChatGPT and my Gemini both have access to my Gmail account. So if something comes up, I'm like, hey, if we're working on something and I get an email from this person or that person, break into the work and tell me.
Yeah.
I don't need a note. I don't need a notion. It's like if your assistant was you're working on a project and they go, oh, so-and-so just called back. Here's what we're doing. Like that. I find that very useful. And that was like super great.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say one
Yeah.
more thing that I do, which is really interesting. So like I said, I
If you do say so your damn self.
Work the same. So about once every quarter, about every 3 months, I'll open a new chat and I'll say, based on everything we've talked about, give me, write me, X amount of words about who you think I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll do that.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating about that, it's a great first, it's like multi-pronged. First, does it see me as I see me?
Right.
Like, do I have a good handle on who I am?
And are you presenting your self-image to it like you think you are?
Yes. And then you can evaluate it and say, why would it think that? So let's say it's in line, that's easy. If it's not in line, so you can literally be like, why would you think this about me? Tell me why. And then as you evaluate that, you can start to adjust. Maybe I would like to come across in this different way from here on out.
Yeah.
Please attach that. And then what I'll do is they call them, I think they're called like style documents.
Yeah.
I did this for my, as a marketing exercise for 2 of my companies where I'm like, stylistically, like I want a style document for root design. I want a style marketing document for Maxwell June. Right. I have those 2 things so that if I ever wanted to be like, here's who I am, here's who these companies are, I literally read this, right?
Yeah.
And you put that down, you write it, it'll write it for you.
Yeah.
And then you come back to it like 3 months later and decide if you still like that. And if you don't, then you keep working on it. And they're basically like these, again, like almost like bullet lists or outline formed, or these, it's a great way to just sort of self-evaluate what's happening. And it's all right there. It's really interesting stuff.
Right. That's a great idea. I've never tried that. I will give that a try in the next 24 hours. And if anything happens to me, blame Rob. Yeah. So
it's always my fault. That's
right.
Fine.
Yeah. So, well, it's just, we'll end it there because we went over by like 15 minutes and I appreciate it. You being with me, and I've got a bunch of family stuff to do. So, love you, brother. I can't wait to see you again very soon. Too, and my mom's here. Hold on one second. Come here and say hi. Hold on. Mom, Rob Glenn, mom. Hold on. You have to
hello.
Over here. It's this camera right there. There she is. Oops. Hi. Love you.
How are you?
Hi. Hi. So yeah, she just arrived. You good?
Yes.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm finishing up. I'll be up in a second or whatever, and then I guess
we're gonna hurry. You have to help me up.
Okay. All right. I'll be right there. All right. Gotta run.
Yeah. Get to it. See you later. I love you.
Oh, all right. Appreciate it. I'm gonna go take care of my mom. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Chad. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Later. There we go. I think we can go there. There you go. Oh no, hold on. I've got to shed.
I'm waiting for you.
I understand. Hold on. I'll do this one maybe. Yeah. There we go.